up in my head today. I'm feeling right since yesterday. Pull together, I hear you say, I can't find no other way. With them now, I'm gonna stay. It's how I am anyway. I'll be the mess if you be the medicine. I'll be fast if you be my head again. Just let me bleed and scream. Just let me bleed and scream. I'll be the mess if you be the medicine. I'll be fast if you be my head again. Just let me bleed and scream. Just let me bleed and scream. Sorry in this masquerade. Slicing through it with my blade. Throttle gun and pump the gas. Keep the heart running fast. I know when I'm gone and dead, I still hear you in my head. I'll be the mess if you be the medicine. I'll confess if you be my head again. Just let me bleed and scream. Just let me bleed and scream. I'll be the mess if you be the medicine. I'll confess if you be my head again. Just let me bleed and scream. Just let me bleed and scream.
Hey, happy Wednesday, guys. Welcome to Coven Radio. Hope everyone's doing well. How are you, Miguel? What's going on?
Good. How's it going? How's it going with you?
I'm not even quite recovered from New York yet.
You partied way too hard in New York. That's what happened.
I think I've also brought some sort of super virus with me from the UK and basically spread it around all of NFPM. Everyone I speak to sick. Like, did you give me a hug? Then you're sick. So yeah, I don't know. I must have been spreading super UK germs. I don't know what was going on, but yeah.
How did you like New York?
I literally absolutely loved it, and the best thing about it was obviously meeting you guys, meeting the SCW guys.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I feel like it cemented my friendship with you all a little bit. Actually, being sat with you for reals, it's really
for sure. We had fun then the night we met.
Yeah, it was good. I was worried, because obviously it's out of Jason's comfort zone, the whole Web3 thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, it's going to be 2 days of sheer boredom for him. But actually, he had so much fun, and I was worried he wouldn't like New York because he's not a city guy. But already he's like, we're going back next year. So
did he say that really?
Yeah, really. He's like, I can't wait to go back again. He loved it. He was obsessed with just the architecture and the energy, and he had selfies with every copper he came across, or police guy, I should say, copper. I don't know if guys say that in, probably not in the US, but yeah. So he was taking pictures of squat this is really cool state trooper car. It was souped up, and he just wound down his window and said, "Do you want a selfie?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was he was like being with a 7-year-old. It was crazy. So
it was really cool. I liked him.
It was brilliant. I absolutely had the best time. It was excellent. Yeah. And
what's one of your best memories of places that you visited in New York?
What was my favorite one? I think it was that. I think it was that moment when I walked into and saw Ukaswaka, Dave, and Scott, and seeing people for the first time. That was the best thing about it. But I think in terms of touristy things, Chelsea Market and the Meatpacking District was my favorite area. I absolutely, I loved it. I loved the history. I loved the food.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there.
Yeah,
the food there is amazing.
Yeah, I had the best pizza. I've eaten way too much like pastries and like the Italian vibes are strong in New York. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna have like ridiculous pastries for breakfast. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, Dave's
That's good. I'm glad you had fun. And what did you think about NFT NYC?
So that's a funny one. I really liked day 2. I think was the better day of the 2 days. Day 2, there was a lot more people there. There was a lot more of a buzz. I haven't been before, so I've nothing to compare it against. But from what the guys said, it was better now. It was in a smaller venue. It felt a bit empty last year, apparently, and a little bit, so having everyone in a smaller space was better, I think. But I think it was more the little like offshoot parties that made it really cool, like the projects were kind of doing. I think that's the best part of it. I think has got the potential to be a lot better.
It does, yeah. I agree.
I feel like it's got so much potential there, and I think so many people. I think people like yourselves and myself and the FCW crew. Like I think we'd happily input more if it was made easier to input more and like offer more, and kind of if it was a little bit more affordable to do certain things.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went on a rant on Twitter
Yeah, you did. I saw that.
about an FTNYC. You know what? We have a love and hate relationship. I've been there the last 3-4 years. It's just, and last year we sponsor, like we were sponsors. We had a booth and everything there, and I didn't have a good experience. So, I kind of just went off about it.
Yeah, it was a shame. It was a shame that we didn't. I submitted stuff to go on Times Square, and I didn't know until the night before I flew that it was going to be on Times Square. And my flight time didn't. I was literally sat watching, like, please let us get off the plane. And I missed it completely. I mean, all the guys like Dave and Metalhead and like Mark, they all got like footage for me and stuff, which was really cool. But it was a shame they sort of announced that so late.
I talked about in my tweet, I talked about creating some sort of space like NFT NYC. Obviously, I know it's going to be costly, but it's been in my head for a very long time to do something like that, but more catering to artists and the creators and the little people that need to be shown that they have talent, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like there could be more of a learning opportunity for maybe people who are new to the space or new to NFTs or not even internet NFTs. They're just an artist who's like curious. I don't know. I feel like it's almost like if you know, if not, you're not invited.
And it's just too expensive for like the regular artists to be out there. You know what I mean? Like it's just very expensive to get tickets. It's just.
And if you're like me and you've got to fly like halfway around,
and it's even more money for you because you have to,
Yeah, so I think it's got so much potential. Like we were talking last night on the FCW space with Dave and Chaos and like Steve, about like, wouldn't it be cool to have a little FCW panel that was like, the sort of A to Z of how to survive the space as a new artist, kind of like, because we're a little art collective, that'd be kind of interesting to people maybe. Don't know, but yeah, I think it's got potential to be a whole lot more, for sure, definitely. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly say to the right of my screen is Mitsuki Honeymoon. So you get this as a bonus airdrop if you mint 2 Lunar Witches. However, tomorrow night is a new full moon, so this is the last time you can get your hands on it. So if you want to mint 2 in the space, it will be airdrop. I have to say, Fraser is sunning himself in Dubai. So he said there may be a delay in the airdrop. He has got his laptop with him. But if you wanted to mint 2 Lunar Witches, you will get that one. But it is your last chance because there'll be a new one as of probably.
That is a really cool one there.
Yeah.
So who do we have today? I know we have a guest today.
We do have a guest today. We do. So I met Ben at NFT NYC at the very cool Metal Warriors party, which was really freaking cool. So yeah, I'm going to I'll bring him on now. But yeah, so he's a really cool artist. He's not just an NFT artist, he's been an artist for a long time. So he's going to talk to us about all that, and then we'll get to the Metal Warriors. So that was their music I was playing on the hold screen. So if anyone's interested, that was off Spotify, so you can just go and check it out. But yeah, let's get him on. Hang on. Hey.
I'm on stage. Great.
You're here. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, apart from a few technical difficulties that I think we ironed out eventually. But yeah, so I'm actually on my, as I was saying, I'm on my wife's PC right now, and it's the first time I've used Windows for about maybe 10 years, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Windows, I got to be honest, or anything Microsoft. As soon as anyone asks me to do anything in Word or PowerPoint, I have like some sort of minor meltdown. But yeah, so for those who don't know who you are, do you want to do like a little like introduction, sort of who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into sort of sharing some art.
Yeah, so I've been in Illustrator now for, well, I would say a graphic designer, sort of creative content maker for probably about 25 years, working in various kind of jobs in marketing and advertising, and really just recently, especially post-COVID, I just decided I've had enough of the marketing and the advertising nonsense. I'm just going to devote my time right now to just drawing and just creating a career for myself, with my art. So, and that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm working on this big Metal Warrior project. So myself and Greg Cook, we sort of partnered with Kerry Kelly, who does the music, and a lot of Jared and Zach and a lot of other people. So it's a quite fairly sort of small but kind of quite a big organisation, I suppose, in ideas and creativity, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Yeah, that's like living the dream to give up graphic design. My friend Acid is always telling me to quit my job, to kind of just be an artist would be amazing. So like that's yeah.
Sometimes you just have to make the leap.
Yeah.
It is hard because that's the exact situation I was in.
Yeah,
where I just had to think, well, I can carry on ploughing away in office environment, or I can do the things that is going to make me happy. So,
yeah.
And this definitely makes me happy. Metal Warrior and doing this work makes me happy.
Yeah, I can see that. Like it is, and it's such an exciting project as well. Like we'll get into sharing a bit more about that in a bit. But so where did you start out? Were you like creating art all your life? Is it something you always wanted to do? Did you always know you wanted to be an artist, or?
Yeah, my first love, and still one of my biggest loves, is comic books. And when I was about like 7 years old, I just started reading 2000 AD, the British comic book. Just every week, I would sort of wait till that thing came out in the newsagent, and I'd rush down and just everything about it. The ink, the black ink on the pages, and the smell of it, and everything. It had such a it made me feel something, and reading that and looking at those comic panels and those stories, and Judge Dredd in particular, I just wanted to do that. That's all I ever wanted to do, was to draw comic books.
Wow. And who's your biggest inspiration from that that comic book world in terms of like style, or writing?
This is a real easy one. There's a comic book artist called Simon Bisley, and he is my absolute fucking favorite artist ever. I mean, the guy is just a genius. He's like, I met him at Comic Con last Comic Con, I should say.
Wow.
And he was a strange guy, an oddball to say the least, but I kind of expected that as well. But I met him for the first time, and I was very, very starstruck. I don't usually do that because famous people don't. I'm not really that bothered, but yeah, meeting him was I had very starry eyes, talking to him, and I got to hand him one of my comic books.
Oh wow, flipping heck!
Yeah, which was absolutely amazing. Yeah,
that's really cool.
I was really into Todd McFarlane, just based on the Spawn.
Love Todd McFarlane. Yeah.
You know why? Because I've said this before in a bunch of other podcasts, even the one we had before this with Mason, that I learned how to do shadows through Todd McFarlane. Like
Yeah.
his shadows are like so amazing, especially with like Spawn, right? Like it's so dark and so mysterious, but yet you
Absolutely.
can still see like the action in the comic book. You know, it's just so great. I love it.
He sort of teaches you how to cut corners a bit as well, and not in a bad way.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to draw every single detail. You
Yeah.
can if you understand shadow, then
Yeah,
you can actually start using that shadow to kind of cut some of the work out of
Yeah.
drawing all that detail. I think
yeah,
Frank Miller's the other one that's really
Yeah, you
amazing.
put the words out of my mouth. He's one of my favorites. It's all about the negative space, isn't it? More than it
yeah.
is anything else. It's like really cool. Alex wants to know: do you have a favorite Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel. I'm not really. To be honest, I'm not really a big superhero comic book fan. I like superheroes, especially growing up. My
Yeah,
favorites were. I had some real favorites. Like I loved Ghost Rider. I
Mm,
liked X Men. I liked some of the more sort of dark, edgy ones. But
yeah,
the kind of the underpants outside of the outfit kind of superheroes. Even Batman, like maybe the stuff later when it got into the 90s, I thought Batman started
yeah.
with
That's
Killing Joke
yeah,
and those kind of things.
yeah,
It got good, but prior to that, I wasn't really a Batman fan either. So I've always liked. That's why 2000 AD was always a much better comic book for me to read because
yeah,
it was always dark. It was
yeah,
always like it was
yeah.
all the stories were death and violence, and there was no
Actually,
love interest in there. Like
no.
X Men comic books, if you've ever read them, especially in the 80s, they would just stick a romance storyline in it for absolutely no reason
Yeah.
whatsoever, and nobody cared. I don't know why they did that, but yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny because I was never into early Batman, and I'm not a huge Superman fan either.
yeah.
But I did a walking tour in New York that was all about the history of DC Comics and Marvel, and it was like taking you around to places where the artists were and certain iconic, talk about the Chrysler and how it features quite a lot in. They're not allowed to say, but it's very much part of Gotham skyline, and all that kind of stuff. But they told me a story about Superman that was so freaking cool. So I'm assuming it was like if I remember right, it was like the 40s or something, when it was just a radio show. And the actor
Mm,
who did the voice of Superman, he was very adamant that we say this is Superman played by Superman. I don't want the actors and actresses' names because it's going to ruin it. So many kids were tuning in to listen, right? And it was around the time where the Ku Klux Klan were really their membership was rising rapidly, and it was a real sort of scary time. And so the actor knew somebody who'd investigated Ku Klux Klan. He'd taken it to the authorities, but of course, most of the authorities were involved with the Klan. So he took it to this actor and he said, "Do you reckon Superman could smash the Klan?" And he was like, "100% Superman could smash the Klan." And they actually went undercover and infiltrated the Klan and then exposed them over a month of radio shows
wow.
called Superman and the Clan of the Fiery Cross, right? And
Wow. That's crazy.
membership.
Also, a comic book series, very famous comic book
Yes.
series.
So yeah, so that was it. The comic book series came from the radio show. So I think the comic book series is called Superman Smashes the Klan, I think.
Yeah.
So they exposed them, and the pressure from the kids being so anti-Klan, and they were talking about it. Membership of the Klan for 10 years was reduced to like zero, and there was nothing heard
Wow.
from them. And I was like, I am now a Superman fan. That is like
That is
the
crazy.
coolest
Yeah.
story, right? I was just like, amazing. But yeah,
It's
You know who's
almost
an amazing artist? I don't know if you guys know him, Alan Lee. Do you guys know who
yeah,
Alan
yeah.
Lee is?
I love Alan Lee's work. Yeah.
Oh my God, his work is so amazing. I have a whole book of just Alan Lee work. He was the one, Vicky, if you don't know, he's the one who like illustrated all the Lord of the Rings stuff, like sketches
oh, now I've just
and all
Googled and seen. Yeah, wow, those illustrations are something
that.
else.
Are crazy. He's so good. I love him.
Yeah, yeah. I think I had one of his Lord of the Rings posters, which it was the Hobbit poster that I had on my wall growing up. That was yeah. So
Yeah, I didn't know that was his name, but I obviously know the illustrations. They're
Yeah.
they're
I mean,
insane.
he's done more obviously than Lord of the Rings, but he's known a lot for his work for Lord of the Rings. I mean, he basically drew the entire Middle Earth and all the creatures and everything. So
yeah. Well, on that note, let's get on to sharing some art. So, do you want to just talk us through sort of, I guess it's like a history of your art here, and like you know, what inspired them, what they were for, and all that sort of thing?
I got my screen up just out of interest. Shall I start sharing my screen?
I can already see your screen is shared, so you should be able to just scroll
Okay,
down.
let me have a look. Oh, okay, I can see it now. Am I scrolling up and down?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, we're
you're
good
in
now.
control.
Okay, so this first piece that I'm sharing, this is a COVID one. It's kind of significant because during COVID, it's like most people were kind of wondering next steps for their life. I imagine so. So this was really next step when I started doing some sort of illustrations for book publishing, and
wow.
this one was
Oh wow.
this ended up being a project that I worked on with my father because he was publishing a poetry book
Oh
called Dracula
wow.
Chained, and so I was illustrating all of these separate poems.
Wow.
And it's particularly significant because I was one of the early adopters of Adobe Fresco. I've worked with Adobe a few times. I've written blogs for them and done
Oh
some.
wow.
So I've done some Adobe stuff, and so I was early adopter for that. And Fresco was one of those programs that I'd used Procreate. I didn't mind it, but when Fresco came along, it was like, oh shit, I can draw in vector lines. I can draw these really, really clean, crisp lines and artwork. So that was kind of a bit of a big change for me, really, with my illustration. So this one is Mina Harker, and she's sort of left at the train station, and my reference was this, I think, train station in the south of England somewhere that I'd taken a picture of it very, like, years and years ago. So I actually grabbed this from my photographs, and it had this nice, like, little cobbled kind of pathway through it.
Mhm.
And
It's
so,
really
and so,
beautiful.
so in the rain as well, and with the red umbrella and stuff, it was so it's kind of this very gothic idea and quite simple illustration, really. But you can see,
Beautiful though. It's
Very
like
poetic.
it's very, very poetic, isn't it? That's very powerful.
yeah, that's the idea as well. When you're illustrating, you're picking out scenes from somebody's words. Very similar to comic books when Greg Cook and I, when we script these things and go through these things, it's like picking out those moments in the text that are going to resonate with people.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with drawing, books for publishing and front covers for books and this poetry book. So she's and this is all vector. The entire thing is just drawn in vector, and it was an early sort of I guess tryout for me. This is one of the first things I did in Adobe Fresco, but it was like I can't believe that everything's so clean and everything's so crisp.
Yeah,
So
I've never used Fresco because I use Procreate.
Yeah, I never used it either.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be downloading that now.
The problem with it is that you've got to have the suite and you've got to buy the Photoshop.
I've got the suite and everything for my job, because I'm a graphic designer. So I'll just add it. I'll just download it.
Yeah, I will say this: once you start using Fresco, you're going to find it hard to go back to Procreate because
Really,
for me, because it's not because Procreate has more tools. I know this, but the problem with Procreate is that if I'm taking, and there are still a few problems with taking Fresco work into Illustrator.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm creating vectors, even though
so you can tweak it in Illustrator easily. And
there's a little bit of tidying, but at the same time, I'm all vectored up already, so I'm not having to live trace anything. So I'm finding things and cleaning things up, but I'm not worrying about am I going to get a clean a live trace out of this? I'm sure that a lot of people have that issue with Procreate if they're bringing the Procreate art in there.
Yep, I usually move it into Photoshop and clean it up in there.
Yeah, same. That's exactly what I do. Yeah. Oh,
You
that's
kind of then you're taking a step out of your workflow for a
Yeah.
start,
yeah.
and it's not, sometimes it's not ideal because what Fresco does is it will vectorize every single keystroke. So every pen
Mm.
stroke that you do, it will be a separate vector. So it'll look as it as a separate vector. So when you bring it into Illustrator, you've got to be sort of smart. If you know that it's going to be an Illustrator artwork, you just have to make sure that you're separating your layers really cleanly.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
when you pathfind something, that it pathfinds everything and it's nice and clean effect. But it can be done anyway. So I will move on to the next one, which was the same. I've got 3 of these. So these are
This was from the same book.
from the same book. So
Oh wow, look at that.
Wow. Yeah. Look at the
this is
details. on that.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Jonathan Harker who's taking this the scene from the book where he takes this carriage up to the Dracula's castle, and there's this figure that he
I
never
love that.
sees. And I of course, because I'm obsessed with drawing skulls and macabre things,
same.
but then I made him a skull-faced, undead kind of coach driver.
I'm big into the Dark Horse comics, so I really like American Vampire, Outcast, and somebody's.
American Vampire is one of my favourites.
I
love
am
that
obsessed. I've read it so many times, and the style reminds me a little bit of that first book. You know, it's really cool. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely
That is
brilliant.
pretty cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was great subject matter to draw from. I mean, if you start drawing, if anyone hands you a brief where you have to illustrate Dracula,
Yeah, let me at it.
yeah, it's not much better. It's
No.
it's not much better than that. Especially if you have my kind of sensibilities as far as heavy metal and
Yeah.
doom and gloom and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. They're
So
incredible.
the next one is this one. This one.
Wow, look at that.
So I took a picture of the reference is Whitby, obviously for obvious reason,
Okay,
because he wrote it. Bram Stoker wrote Dracula there. So this is like a hilltop that I got some reference from. I changed because it was a little chapel rather than the Whitby. Is it the cathedral up there or sorry, an abbey rather than Whitby Abbey, but used the kind of steps down to the water. And this kind of hand grasping at her dress.
I know, it's amazing. That is so.
Yeah, I do like that a lot.
That's really beautiful. The textures and the detail in her dress, like you can feel that it's satin. You know what I mean? I can almost touch it.
Yeah. Well, my daughter likes this one because, and she's a fashion student actually. She's studying in Leeds in England, but so she liked this one because she liked the dress.
Yeah, you can feel the movement in it and the textures,
cool,
and the different fabrics. It's like, considering like that it's not like huge, like massive detail. You're so clever at capturing the illusion of detail. You know what I mean? Like kind of, it's.
I like the details on the ground.
Yeah,
The rocks and
the textures and the rocks and the sand and
I think there's a lot in. I think there's a lot to be learned in kind of penciling out sort of like a landscape where you have water and you have sand and you have rocks and then you have grass and then you have all these different colors and textures, even though it's like moonlit. So the colors are all sort of like faded, but at the same time when you can create more of an atmosphere if you're able to put these little details in there. So I think that's important, especially when you're doing something like this and the text is the text sets the scene very specifically. She's walking down steps from a chapel, and then it's like, oh well, down to the sand. It's like, how do I put all of this into one picture? But it's as long as you have an idea of how you're going to compose it.
Well, what is the process for starting something like that? Then would you, like you say, you had maybe a bit of photographic reference? Do you like map out the composition and then just build on it, or like how would you start a piece like that?
I don't really have any specific photographic reference, but I will take I will, search the internet for like scenes like this. I would search the internet for scenes of Whitby or something
Yeah.
like that. And I will bring them in, and I will. But
Yeah.
I think the key for me is that I see people online, and they're showing people tutorials of their art, and they're just tracing stuff. And I've never understood that, because for me, I need to be able to develop my own style, sort of reinterpret things when you can see them as a
Yeah.
photograph, and then you can omit details and you can add details, and
Yeah.
you start creating your own style. Because I don't think you can do that if all you're doing is tracing artwork. And I've told this to other people who I've seen doing that. Like, you probably ought to just try, taking that photograph and taking the bits of it that are important, or the bits of it that make sense. Because all you're doing, if you're tracing it, you're just recreating a photograph, and you're not going to get the personality, you're not going to
Yeah.
get your soul and the spirit in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
That makes sense.
There's emotion transferring from you to the page, isn't
Uh-huh.
there? Really, by creating your own style. Yeah, because with my style being this sort of old schoolish tattoo style, like obviously I can't do that. So I would take, like you say, a photograph or a silhouette and be like, okay, they're the key things that make that look like the thing that I'm trying to draw, and simplify it and take a lot of detail out quite often, and it's quite tough to do that.
Yeah.
I think what you do is really hard, actually, because bringing things down like that, when you do your doll shapes, and you're actually putting in quite a lot of detail in very small spaces, and it's very graphical. And those things, when you make those artistic decisions of this visually, or this line, these lips, these are going to kind of, these fangs, these are going to actually make the drawing. These small details, these things that I can capture myself, are going to make the drawing, rather than just copying. And it's the same with copying other people's work. I've never understood that either.
No. Yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. I naturally, I never used to draw like that. I've had to learn how to do that, because I just loved I loved tattoo culture, and I was like, I want to be able to create that way. And I practiced and practiced and practiced, and like, you know what I mean, until I nailed it. And and I'm still working on it now. But naturally, I would draw a little bit more free, and I was more into pastels and charcoals and stuff that was more expressive. So I like to make life difficult for myself.
All right, let me move on to the next one.
Yeah, go on, move on. These are
okay. This one's a real sort of. This is the kind of point in my life, I think, over the last 5 years that things really changed.
Yeah.
Because I did some work for Stone Brewing, and I did. There was they were doing a series called the Guest Art Series, where they'd bring artists in, and they'd do like a can design, and they and using the gargoyle.
Oh,
and
wow. So
and
cool.
this was the one that kind of got onto cans, and got into like a bit of merchandise and things, and sort of and through this I started building a relationship with Greg Cook, who's now my partner writing the comic books, and he oversees the entire Metal Warrior project. And he kind of, it was weird, because it was sort of late COVID, and I got an email in the sort of really late at night, and I opened my email up, and it was because I'm really into craft beer, and it was from Greg Cook himself. So I was like going, oh shit, it's the beer Jesus. He's emailing me. So my wife was asleep, and my wife's asleep beside me, and I'm waking her up and shaking her, going, beer Jesus, he's emailing me. He wants to see some more of my artwork. And so it was a really kind of big moment, especially, and it's kind of things in that you really remember, because it wasn't a great time for anybody, I don't think.
No.
So when you remember those things, it's like, this was a real key turning point, and it sort of built a relationship between me and Greg, and it's through that we kind of he kind of recognized, because I think he's very good at recognizing talent in people, or recognizing ability in people, and he just decided, we should do something together. We should do a project. I think he was starting to to want to get out of Stone, and he did. He's no longer CEO there, so So yeah, so we started building these comic books and drawing, and I started drawing, and eventually I'd be drawing Metal Warrior comics full time and doing all the album covers and stuff. So
Wow.
this was the turning point, and it's the idea of the Stone Gargoyle. I don't know if you're familiar with Stone Brewing and Stone Beer, but he's the figurehead of the company, and I sort of drew him as this sort of James Bond debonair type character.
Love it.
Yeah, no, it looks really cool.
Well, to be honest, I wondered. I've always wondered why they didn't put it onto a T-shirt. I would buy that.
I would buy
Yeah.
that. That's a cool
Yeah,
t-shirt.
that would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, maybe they will at some point. Okay. So the next thing, so this is another publishing piece I did. This is actually an Amazon bestseller from a friend of mine, Clint,
Rose and the Crane.
who's a very, very talented writer when it comes to writing these historical novels.
Wow.
And he wanted a new, and it already sold quite a lot of copies, Rose and Crane, but he wanted a new cover, because the cover that he had was like cross swords. It's one of those like kind of sort of like motifs that we've seen a million times. So
Yeah.
he wanted something different. So again, it was the idea of taking a scene out of that book and sort of making that into like a cover. And that's what I like to do when it comes to my illustration. I like to get, if there is a comic, because I treat everything a bit like a comic book. You know, if there's a scene that I like, I'll focus on that and I'll make that into like the front cover. And so the story's about a samurai who's a Western guy that ends up, and Western knight that ends up in feudal Japan, and he becomes a samurai. And the guy's
Wow.
And it's quite semi-autobiographical a bit, because he was that big Western guy in the middle of Japan. So, but anyway, this is a historical version of it. So you got this guy charging on his horse, the first guy to charge the pikes. I can't remember what they were called. He told me what they were called, but I think we call them pikes in England anyway. So to the pikes.
Now, do you make multiples or do you just make one? Like multiple.
It depends on the project, and it depends on the client and how fussy they are. But I'm a firm believer that you want to give a lot of people. I see a lot of posts and a lot of people kind of jokingly, but they do, a lot of graphic designers and artists, that they say, "Oh, the client is wanting me to do this and do it again, and I'm having to do all these revisions, and I'm going to have to charge them for revisions and that kind of thing." And yes, it can get bad when you have to, because I've worked in those environments where you're revising, and they're never happy. But at the same time, I want to please somebody. I want somebody to get the artwork that they want.
Yeah.
So if I don't get it right the first time, that's fine. I'm not expecting to get it right first time. Sometimes it'll take a few times, 3 or 4 times. Greg and I have not fought over things, I think usually, but he's somebody who's very, very particular about what he wants and his vision. And so there's been many cases when I've had to redo things quite a few times. Not that many, but others, because because he likes my artwork. That's as simple as that, really. So, but yeah, this one was maybe the second draft of this, and then it was. He said, "Oh, that's brilliant. I love it." And I think you're lucky if you get to a second draft. You're probably lucky, because if you hit something out of the park first time, then that's really fucking lucky. I mean, I don't. You know what I mean? I'm very when you're working in commercial environments and you draw something and somebody immediately likes it, then that's great. But you've got to be prepared for those times when you have a client and they don't like it, and you have to compromise and you have to be flexible, and you have to. And some clients are difficult and they can't tell you what they want. Some are very specific and you know exactly what they want, and that's easy. That's great. And sometimes it's like I don't know what you want, but I'm just going to keep going until I get it right.
Yeah, it's hard, that, isn't it? Because I'm a commercial graphic designer. I work for myself, but I'm lucky at the minute. I've got some, like, a handful of regular clients who I've worked with for so many years now, and it just, you just know what they like and what they don't. And generally, I'll give them a route that is maybe going to push their comfort zone a little bit, but I think they're going to like it, but they'll feel uncomfortable about it. And then I give them the play safe that I know they're going to love, and that way I know one of them's going to win. So it's like, kind of, it is tough though. It can get a bit soul sapping sometimes commercially like that though, when you get really difficult clients. But yeah, I'm lucky with the ones I have currently. Thank God.
We have chosen a career that a lot of you have to have thick skin though, because
Yeah.
it's so subjective that you don't get precious about your artwork, because you need to like rip that up and start again sometimes, because if you get so precious and you're not drawing for you, that's the thing.
No,
People who draw for themselves are fine artists. That's who draw for themselves. If you're a commercial artist, you're drawing for somebody else to pay you for that work. So you have to be understanding of what that means.
Yeah, it's a totally different skill to be able to do that, because sometimes I'll create something and I go, well, I don't actually like that and I don't love it, but I know it's right for that brief, and it's kind of, you're not always like, it's a tough thing to do, and I don't think many people can do it without getting stressed
emotionally.
Yeah.
You really, yes, I say, you just really have to just have a tough, because and artists are generally always sensitive people. I'm a sensitive person. I get my feelings very easily, So it's but I've learned over the years, to thicken my skin a little bit and just make sure that and just be harder about and be. But I think the most important thing is to be. It's a horrible word to use, but destructive about your artwork.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to just put something in the bin and start again, or at least not hold on to those things that you've drawn that you think are great, because again, it's subjective. It's your opinion, and it's not yours. I don't think maybe that's the thing. Maybe you don't own your art. Maybe maybe it's. And especially nowadays with the internet, and you put your art out there and just people will grab it and own it. Maybe you just don't think of it that way. I just don't own my art anymore. Somebody else can have it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put it out there, somebody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
For sure. That whole. Yeah, I've learned to kind of thicken my skin a little bit, but it was a long road getting there.
Not me. I'm very emotionally attached to my art.
That doesn't sound very convincing. I think you're probably a bit more like me, where you're quite prepared to just dump something.
I've got folders upon folders of logos that never see the light of day.
Oh my God, you wouldn't believe
brands that just like gathering dust in a like drop box.
Sketches everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So
cool.
This is again another very significant piece of artwork for me recently, because this was when we were developing the Metal Warrior characters. These were the first sort of proof of concept images that I started to draw.
Oh, wow, okay.
So this one was this is Talk, which is our ape character who's the 4-armed ape who has he's the drummer out of the band. And he has these. He's kind of a silent ape, but he's incredibly intelligent. That's why he's sort of flying the ship, And so this was a fun one to draw, because I thought about how am I going to show this ape's intelligence? This futuristic ape's intelligent. It's like, oh, I know, he's flying the ship. The other ones are all just pushing buttons, and that was the kind of idea for him. And he's with our NFTs as well. I think he's become kind of a favorite as well with people.
Yeah, I think my friend Acid minted one, and he was pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, well, it's a weird one, because we've gone so deep into these characters that I actually started. I came up with a language, well, not a language, but an alphabet for Talk's evolution. So I actually have actually have about a load of characters that we've been using to kind of illustrate his language.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Like,
they're kind of
love
a little bit based
on.
on Kenji, but yeah. So we've gone real because we've been developing this for quite a few years, like 3 years. So
Wow.
we've gone very very deep into the lore of a lot of these characters. Flushed them out entirely. So and I think when we started doing the NFTs, so we already knew exactly who these characters were.
Yeah.
So adding the traits to them and adding figuring out it was kind of an easy task really because they already and with the comic books and all of the traits that we could add in there, costumes and things like that. Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was easy. It's never easy to just draw that much.
No, you have the whole universe kind of mapped out before you even
Yeah,
started. So,
but it definitely helps, and it kind of shows as well. I think that this doesn't apply to you, by the way, because I love the NFTs that you do. But it feels like there are NFTs out there where it's not really it's drawing a cute character for the sake of drawing a cute character and not understanding where they are in the world and what their motive. And now I sound like a theatre major or something, but do you know what I mean?
No. I think it's
Their motivation and stuff, and who they are and what they're going to wear, how they're going to their expressions and everything like that. When that's all mapped out, kind of makes a difference. I think that's why it's been quite popular all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think it does. I think there's been a shift in the space, like because the Rebel Ants, for example, Miguel's collection. There's a whole load of lore. There's there's battles going on. I've seen sneak peeks of stuff coming up, which I won't talk about, but which is really cool. And it's the same with my Cute and Creepy Gang universe. I've written lore around stuff. There's developing characters. I'm making a trading card game. So I think a lot of the sort of more recent collections are doing what you're saying. They're trying to flesh out this universe, and kind of build something around it. But you guys have taken it to the next level because you've got the comic books. But I think it's not. People want to own a little bit of a story. I think they just don't.
Storytelling.
It's the
storytelling, the emotion behind the character.
Yeah, 100%.
People resonate with that stuff. Yeah,
100%. I think, and I think it's like the only way it's going to cross over into Web 2 to kind of from Web 3 is to have that story where I can have a comic book of my NFT, or I can I think that's really important for sure. So that's you guys have got it all. You got music, you got beer, you got comic books, you got it all.
Yeah. I'm going to get on to the next character. So that was Talk. So this is Quandam.
Is it jumping?
Yeah, it's jumping. It's frozen.
Oh, no! Here it goes. There it goes. It's moving.
Hold on. Okay, there we go. So this is Quan. Wow. So this is our
detail there.
Our knight character who's a magical time. Well, they're all time travelers, but he kind of owns the time traveling ability with his black blade, where he can cut through. He can cut through time and space, and the TSTC as we call. And so here he is, and cutting through time. And I think they've gone a bit too far because they're back in prehistoric times.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of the Eye of Sauron there, isn't it? That he's It's kind of it's really cool.
Very detailed.
So again, this was the other sort of proof of concept idea of Quan and his black blade, and his black blade is a character within itself. So his black blade is actually he finds it hard to control the black blade itself because it's itself very 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 powerful magical character.
Yeah.
And we've done, and I keep saying he, but we're not really sure what they are. They could be a he, they could be a she. We're not sure because with the helmet on and they're just a magical being. I think that's the key to this character. Epic. And also when I drew it, I just like drawing knights and things. That was the other reason.
Perfect for me.
His armor as well, isn't he? He's got like skulls on his knees and on his chest. It's really cool.
Yeah, there you go. when I started drawing these characters, it was like I want them all to be, have their own personality, not just their own personality, but be wildly different from the next one.
Yeah.
So that's why you have the white ape with 4 arms, and then the barbarian, then and then the knight, and then the lycanthrope. So yeah,
Awesome.
Very cool stuff. Yeah.
thank you. And then this is our main character, Skydin.
Yeah, I think he's my favorite. I love him.
Yeah, he's the character that we focused on with the Skydin, him being the lead singer and the leader of the gang, as it were.
Yeah,
we've concentrated on him with the comic books, and Skydin's Descent. Our comic book is like a 9 comic book series that we're actually into about 6, but we've released 3. So we're about to release the 3rd one. I beg your pardon. So this is Skydin, who's had a little bit of a tortured past, and now he's fighting the righteous battle, as we like to say. And so here he is with howling at the moon and these are all Malicites, as you see, all these smashed Malicites. These are some of our baddies in the universe. These green things are the things that they're kind of they're sort of horrible mutant beings that are just reaping destruction.
It's wicked. Yeah. I love it. You are so clever at telling a story.
Yeah, that's I think that's when you start drawing comic books, you get really used to just being able to like recreate stories and movement and to do that. And this is Queen Var. This is our barbarian character. And so she's if you see just peering into the scene, you have the other 3 characters.
Cool.
Oh yes, okay. See them at the front.
Yeah, so here she is,
I see. Yeah,
she's sitting on a throne of skulls with her saber-toothed cats. Yeah, so
she knows how to rule.
She's actually my favourite character.
Yeah, no, I think I've changed my mind now. I've seen her sat like that with a saber tooth.
Yeah, if you read,
everything tells a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I think that's why this was when I did this proof of concept. I think that's where Greg kind of went, holy shit, we could do so much with these because these are already, saying so much about who these characters are.
Yeah.
So that's. I think that this was the catalyst for a lot of these drawings. So yeah, she's my favorite character. And if you read our first book, which is Getting the Band Back Together, book 0 as we call it, she's definitely got the best lines in it and the best character in it. In my opinion, I should say. Okay, let's. Gone too a little far. Let's see if we can get it back. Okay, so now we're on to the comic books. So this is Getting the Band Back Together again. I was just talking about. So this is the first comic book I drew, and this is at the bottom here. They see this panel that's the 1,000-Year War. So you see them battling orcs again. The Malicites again. They're often battling Malicites and trying to smash them.
Yeah, that was great.
And then here we go, some more of Getting the Band Back Together and Var, and I like these particular panels here where you see this. If you play the music, you can play the music. There's a record inside each one.
Yes, I've got mine from when I saw you up here with the record. And 2 of them have got the records in as well.
So you play the record, and there's you can kind of follow, especially this one in particular, Getting the Band Back Together. You can follow along the story with the actual record.
Love that.
It has this repeated phrase: "Smash the Malicites, smash the fucking Malicites." So this is, and I particularly like these 3 panels of the 3 of Skydin and Quan, and then Talk, just like kicking the hell out of these things, and as usual, there's a lot of blood and guts in it. Which is, if just so you know, if you do buy one of our comic books, you will see quite a lot of, Malicite guts and heads being beheaded and things like that.
It's what we want.
Action is
Yeah,
what we
that's-
want. Yeah.
That's what everybody wants when they read a comic book. That's
course
all
they
I've ever
do.
wanted. I want my comics to be ultra violent. I always have done.
I'm reading that something is killing the children and the house is
Oh, that's
slaughtered.
great.
Wow.
That's great. Is that
Great
something
they
to
are.
the children? That's great.
They're great
Um,
comics, they are.
But there's been a couple of times where Greg's quite good at he's okay with the violence. There's been a couple of times when he said, "I think you've gone a bit far with that."
You think it too far.
I think you
Yeah.
took it too far
There
there.
was one moment in the where we have a protagonist in there. He's called Oknar Karmoon, and he's this sort of huge sort of Henry VIII kind of Viking type character. He's an absolute prick, but he's and he likes squashing people's heads and things. But there was a moment in it where he basically grabs two people and then smashes their heads together so that their heads are just like exploding upon each other. And I think Greg on that one said, "Yeah, I think you should tone that one down a bit." So I just drew more blood so it covered up all the bones smashing in the brains and things. Yeah.
I love it. Just add more blood.
I would be
Yeah,
like,
just add
no,
more blood.
add more.
Actually, that's a good tip. If it's too violent, add more blood.
Add more blood.
Add
Violent
more. Yeah.
blood.
That would have been me. Add more.
Just be top tip,
A
top
little more
tip.
in there.
Hold on, it's lagging.
Oh, the PC is frozen. No, these. So, would you?
Here you go. Hold on.
Would you storyboard out like the whole comic before you final sketch it, or like how like the process of doing a comic?
Okay,
Like that?
so I will. We will sort of. Greg will and I will kind of. We'll storyboard it out, not storyboard it out, but we'll sort of have an idea of what's going to be in this particular episode, this particular issue, and then we will sort of write, and then I will kind of sort of script it and draw it really, and I don't usually use that many pencils, although. When I do come to a panel and a page, I'll sort of split it into the panels that I know I'm going to use.
Yeah.
So I've been a little bit better recently. I've started to really, having to storyboard the more complicated pieces out.
Yeah.
If you look at the first book, it's quite a lot of especially the way that the panels are pretty much split into like threes and twos and fours and now I'm kind of I think I'm being a bit cleverer with my composition of the pages. I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that. Yes, kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. So this is another. This is Skydin's Descent. So this is some pages from that. That's the one of the chapter pages. So we see him as a young boy being chased by one of these assassins who was sent to capture him. And in later in the story, there he is getting breaking from his chains as he becomes his true self, which is this all powerful werewolf character.
Wow.
Everything is
That's
very
my
detailed.
favorite.
Everything has a really good visual story.
Yeah, it does.
I love
it's
that.
very consistent, isn't it?
Yeah, and
You can
he's
tell looking at it that it's your style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and that's why I was saying earlier about developing a style and not tracing and not going the easy route of just I'm just going to grab this bit of reference and I'm just going to trace around it. It's like you're just not going to develop your own style. You're not going to.
Yeah.
It's not going to be you anymore. You've got to put. I keep saying it, but you've got to put some of yourself and your soul into what you do.
100%.
So even these decisions that you make, when you're making these decisions while you're drawing, they might change something very specifically and drastically, but but it will be you. It won't be it won't be you just copying something.
100%. Yeah, there's the record cover, isn't it?
Yeah. So this was I think this is the sort of design that this is our. Not just our record cover design, but this is the design that we use to advertise a lot of our marking pieces and Metal Warrior as a whole. And it kind of just sums it up, like they're not just playing on stage, but they're also fighting Malicites on stage, and it's just it's got all those metal ideas, like the lightning crashes and
Yeah.
the people cheering in the background and
Yeah.
the blood and the guts and
Mhm.
Well, it's that storytelling era of metal, like the 80s, like Iron Maiden and Megadeth and people like where they told
that's me.
their records told a story, didn't they? And
Yeah.
that was what appealed to me as a kid, was like, they took you on. Not only was the music amazing, but it was taking you on like an adventure and just listening to the song,
Yeah, absolutely. That's those record covers. I was so affected by the Iron Maiden
Me
record
too.
covers. Yeah, and also like thing like going through my dad's collection of. I mean, it was never really metalhead, but he always liked rock music. So he had Queen News of the World in it, and that was really affecting me as a kid. I looked at that with the robot on it, as he's kind of holding the Queen, the band in his hand, and there's inside you see the crowd dispersing as this big massive robot looks in. It's just again, talk about storytelling. That thing just tells a story as you look through it.
Yeah, I was just obsessed with album artwork when I was a kid.
Have you got a favourite?
It's got to be the Iron Maiden covers. I literally just probably Seventh Son. I absolutely love that album.
Oh, it's a cracker. Yeah, he's a cracker.
I used to just constantly draw Eddie to the point where my art teacher called my mum into school. He said he thought I was worshipping the devil. He was like, and he called my mum in for a very serious meeting about my devil worshipping, because every brief somehow there was a skull or there was Eddie or something. But that was just me. I was like quite dark and moody. That was just how I expressed myself.
I know exactly how you feel, because I went to a Catholic school, and I'm not religious at all in any way. I haven't been religious. I think I decided about 7 years old that this isn't for me. I don't believe in it. But I was the same thing. I was drawing skulls, and I was drawing all this. In art class, I would be drawing like 2000 AD characters. Joe Pineapples is a robot who's basically shooting the head off of another robot, and things like that, where your art teacher just looks at it and just goes, yeah, I don't really know what to make of this. I don't know. I don't understand this. I'm not. And so my art teacher just didn't teach me. He just didn't bother with me. Just didn't think what I was doing was worth anything. So it was. And the thing is that I've always been really interested in art as well. As well. I love galleries. I love art. I love. One of my favorite things to do is to walk around an art gallery. I guess if you're into, a lot of people don't class illustration and things like Iron Maiden record covers as art. They don't think that people, great illustrators are artists, and it's absolutely ludicrous to me. I've never understood it.
No, yeah. In the same way with tattoo art as well. It's the same thing. It's a similar thing. I think it's more accepted now that they are genuine genres of art, really. Yeah.
I think so. I think in the where everything has value, or doesn't have value, but everything in the internet age has value. I think everything can be seen as art. A tattoo can be art. Anything that somebody creates that you can view it as art. It's like the thing with AI as well. I don't use any AI in my work, but we have Jared, one of my the people that I work with. He does these videos, and they're great.
They're insane. I've seen those. Yeah. They were playing them on the big screen, weren't they, at the party? And they were amazing AI. That.
And he taught himself how to do that in like a matter of weeks as well. So, I think some people and he's just a very talented, he's able to do that because he's talented as a videographer. He's just really good at visual stuff. Some people, I think that's the thing about Metal Warriors, a team. Everybody like Zach and Greg and myself, and then KK and everybody who's involved in it, they're all really, really talented people.
Yeah.
I haven't really encountered that before, especially in my work life, when I've worked for companies and worked in office spaces where people are just desperate to climb up the corporate ladder, and
Yeah,
it
100%.
doesn't matter what their abilities are. They will blind tell somebody, a boss or somebody, that they did something or they tweeted something.
Mhm.
The amount of times that I've created all this content and people have taken, and said it was theirs, or taken it's just crazy. I'm so glad I'm out of that.
Yeah.
That happens all the time in our world. All
Yeah,
the
it
time.
does. It does. I feel like in Web3 in particular, though,
Mhm.
people want to kind of be open about collaborating.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like when I worked in a studio many years ago, I work for myself now, but when I worked in a studio, say we had a brief that we were given by a client and they would say, yeah, we can deliver that, knowing full well we probably couldn't deliver all of it. And we'd have to get a third party involved, whether that was to do with a web build that was particularly complex or whatever. And they'd kind of white label it and it'd be all like, shh, don't tell anyone we didn't know. It was like a really weird thing to sort of,
Very hush.
you very like, don't tell anyone we got someone to help us because that makes us look bad. Whereas now I feel like, especially in the Web3 space, everyone's like, oh, I've collabed with so-and-so and we've teamed up with so-and-so and we're
I
doing
like
this
that.
together. And that's what I absolutely love about the space compared to my IRL job where I might have a conversation with someone on the phone and like just ask their opinion just out of courtesy. And then when I deliver something that really, had nothing to do with them, they say, oh yeah, but that's because we spoke about that. And it's like, well, not really. It was all my work, my idea. I feel like there's a lot of that goes on in the design industry, but not in
Yeah.
Web3 so much. So that's why I love it here.
Yeah, that's exactly what kind of where I was in my career, and passed up for promotions and things. And it's like, well, and I'm a kind of an well person. Well, if somebody wants to take credit for that, that's fine. But I have enjoyed working in this Web3 space, which has not been for very long. As probably people can tell, because I am an illustrator, but I've enjoyed being back on X again, and people
Which is good.
liking my stuff and things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I
good
mean,
now because the Web3 space back in the day was not very good. It
no.
was very cutthroat. But
I
now
think-
you got it into in a time where people are very, they
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of builders here now, isn't there? And a lot of artists who've just stuck around for through some really tough times. So it feels like the genuine ones are left. Like as soon as I met you at the party, I was like, oh, I gotta have him on our stream. I just love meeting exciting people, and I feel
I'm so glad you did, because I mean I'm not great at talking about anything else apart from art. So
this is why we do what we do. This is why we do this. So because when we first originally started this, like Kevin and I and Rebel Lance, like we originally did it to promote artists that were unknown. Like that was our whole goal, was we want to get artists that people don't know that are very talented, that we want to get their name out there. And that's how it all started. This is how
I met you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's cool. That's what I don't think you get. I don't think you get that lifting people up like that in IRL, as they say in the real world. I think it's
I mentioned before, and I know you know this, Vicky. Like I mentioned that in the past, that growing up as an artist, like you're not known. Nobody's ever going to know what your art looks like. And I feel like Web3 gives people that space. And I feel like that space is still very limited in Web3 too. And this is part of the reason why we do this visually live and as a video, right? Because we want to know the artist. We want to know what's behind the art. We want to know what was your thought behind the art. Like I'm very emotional when it comes to art. Like if you look at my art, it's very emotional. Right. So for me to find the story behind that emotion is an attachment to the artwork. And that's how I connect to it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, making connections is important nowadays. I think I'm learning. They're definitely learning that through the new NFT buddies that I'm making through Web3. Because it's all about. It feels like it's all about connections.
Yeah.
So, and it is nice to collaborate, and it is nice to come on programs like this. It's not. And I think that there's a lot. artist and illustration can be very insular and a lonely job. So when you actually can reach out and you can talk to other people about these things and have build some kind of community, I think that is good. I think that's important. Because I don't think you make good art in a bottle.
No,
I think
you don't.
Yep. I agree. I mean, we've met some like amazing artists, even through Vicky. Like I've met some amazing people, especially from your team and the FW people. Like they're so talented. Like it's amazing.
Yeah,
Just to meet other people that think like you is just great.
Yeah, you'll have to. The guys you all met at the party, like they're all part of. We created a little artist collab group, and because we were all kind of out there on our own building, and we kept coming across each other in spaces, we made connections. We all kind of do the more weird art, kind of like yourself, like kind of a little bit more out there, and it's amazing because we bounce ideas off each other constantly, and it's just
great,
invigorating to have that. I've never had that with art until I came into this space.
Yeah. Because you don't think that people are drawing or thinking the same way you do, like the little weird creatures and stuff like that. And you meet someone that does that thinks and does the same exact thing you do, and you're like, "Oh my god, what?"
I know. Like one of my favorite things I did in New York was Steve took me to the Halloween shop that's open all year round. That was in the Terrifier movie. Like to everyone else, that's like super
wow,
weird.
Is that right? I love those Terrifier.
I know, right? So I was like, I have to go there. So that's the thing. I said, he said, what do you want to do in New York? I was like, I want to buy a comic from a proper comic book store, and I want to go to that Terrifier Halloween shop. And the Ghostbusters headquarters.
Ben, I wanted to touch on something you mentioned earlier, talking about that everything is art, and then you went into the AI thing. I think that people that do AI art are also very talented because those prompts and that vision that they have is still artistic, right? And then going back to your other point that everything is art, I've mentioned this too before in the past, that everywhere you look, there's art. Because if you really think about it, even coming out of your house, like the table, the car, everything that you touch and see, somewhere it was a sketch, right? Someone sketched it out and they made it. So it was art from the beginning.
Yeah.
Everything that you see is art.
I think that also if, I mean, I'm not like, I don't use it myself, but I'm not at the same time. I see how useful that tool is. But I think that it's also about understanding that it is a tool and that people are going to use it. So if they're going to use it, and you think that it's going to end your career or something like that, well, at least try and integrate it somehow into your workflow, or at least work with somebody who's doing that. You need to find ways where that's going to, that you can use it rather than working against it. I think that
100%,
that right now that as an illustrator, I understand illustrators' issues with AI, and I have not famously, but we talked about one of my a friend of mine from a while ago. He basically said on one of my posts, he was calling it, I think there's a term for it, but it's like AI slop and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't really want to. I get that you're a comics guy and that you don't like this, but at the same time, instead of just being, hey, AI, I hate this, just maybe try and figure out how you can
use it.
You don't have to suddenly start prompting and making all your like AI, but maybe you can work with someone. Maybe you can, like I am working with Jared, and we're collaborating on things. Maybe you can do that. Maybe there are options out there that doesn't kind of limit you to just, I hate this. I'm not going to use this. I hate anybody else who uses it. It's like, well, it's a tough thing to hate someone just for creating an AI image. That's
it's just another tool. That's
it is. And I think that comes from a place of fear when people talk like that, because they're fearful of it and they don't understand it, and they're worried that it's going to cancel them out. But I have friends who are Frisky we had on. He is the most talented AI artist and music, and it's
very good.
Like he is, and to be as consistent and to know you're looking at a Frisky piece when you're using AI is like, to me, that's mind blowing, because I have a little dabble, and getting those prompts to do what you want them to do
it's hard.
It's
really hard.
Like just the simplest of things. But you're right. You need to embrace it as a tool and kind of find a way to work
Yeah.
alongside it. I think for sure.
Well, I embraced digital artwork, and that was. And I remember when I
Yeah.
started
It's the
doing
same
that.
thing, isn't it?
I used to drawing it with pencil and paper, obviously, because I'm in my 50s. So when I first started you doing digital artwork, there was my reservations for that as well. It's like, am I going to be taken seriously? Are people going to think that this is real art? Should I be doing this? And it's like but then again, it's like, and then now I can't imagine going back to pen and paper.
Yeah, I agree. 100%, I agree with you.
Yeah, because I'm the same because I'm in my late 40s. So I always was pencil paper, maybe a light box, layout paper, all sorts of stuff. I even used to hand render type when I was like back in the day. So like insane, like, you know, and then now I can't imagine not having my iPad.
I think it does
I
teach
know,
you.
yeah.
I think every person who wants to illustrate should pick up pen and paper though,
Yeah.
and just learn how to sketch before they even do digital art. I think
Yeah.
those
You know
kind of skills are important.
Yeah.
You know what it is too? I met it. We had an artist a long time ago that we interviewed called Wonder Mundo. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's a really good like AI artist. And at that time, I was really opposed to AI art. Like I was like, no, why are we doing AI art? It sucks. Like I was very opposed to it until she mentioned to me during that whole podcast. She was like, listen, think about it this way: somebody with a disability that wants to be artistic using AI art, and they're able to create their vision. That's something. And then when she said that, I thought about it, and I was like, wait a minute, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like someone with a disability can create art based on AI, and that to me was like the
Yeah.
flip, and I was like, oh, geez, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
you're right.
and I just kept learning from there, like what it is and how it is and what happens. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's like Vicky mentioned, it's a fear,
It is the
right? Like
fear.
us as artists, we're like, oh, somebody's going to take our job or somebody's going to do this and they're not going to use me anymore to do any art. But you always have that creation, that passion, and
I mean,
that fire
even,
to create anyway.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
different.
even ChatGPT, I'm having so much fun training it about the Lunar Witch law. So I've been like inputting, getting it to write stuff, inputting, and now I have my own Lunar Witch Oracle OpenAI, so you can go and ask the Lunar Witch a question and all. And I
know,
just
that
think
is pretty cool.
I would never have thought I would have embraced it that much,
Yeah.
but I do have a lot of fun with it, creating
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I do now too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I'm having. I don't think I'm going to be using it anytime soon. But at the same time, I'm really enjoying seeing a lot of the things coming up on X, like Metal Warrior fans, generating stuff. And
Yeah, they'll get a lot of that.
I
Like,
love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's great to see stuff like that happen, and that's because people want to be involved and people want to collaborate and people want to and that's great if you're trying to build something.
Yeah, that in itself is creative. So that in itself is art.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next
Sorry,
one.
yeah, sorry, we're chatting away.
If I can get this thing, it's moving really slowly.
I know. You need to give it a bit of
I
a.
just realized we have over 360 people watching.
Oh gosh, I didn't realize we had so many viewing.
Yeah. Just
I
chatting
hope
away.
they're having a good time. I hope they're not annoyed at all of.
No, they just
scrolling and
they've been
trying
loving this. Zero said he wants to be a guest. I've noticed in the comments. Anytime.
So this is just a little bit of application of that Metal Warrior graphic. It's
Wow, look at that.
So what happened is in Comic-Con we took a truck that was beautifully presented with this artwork, and then
Wow, that is cool.
some Malicites came and they wrecked the whole thing, and so we had to drive around the whole of Comic-Con with the things blowing smoke out of it, and so this
How
is
much fun! That's amazing.
That is fun. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I wish I was part of that.
I know, me too. I want to be driving.
Those damn Malicites, yeah. So naughty Malicites, yeah, wrecking our van. So there's just a little bit of fun there.
Oh my god! I think we need some LARPing to go on for this NFT collection for sure.
So this is part of the record. The record is not just like a gatefold record with this huge landscape in the middle of this battle going on, but I also have a 36-page booklet, lyric booklet.
Yes, I have it.
and it has all these, and every single lyric, every single song has got a piece of artwork attached to it. And so this is a few of my favourites. This is the King Sisis, who's a character in the comic books, who's Skydin's father. This kind of lonely character of a king that's kind of lost everything. And yeah, there's a great song as well. Well, they're all good songs, but I particularly like that song as well. So this, again, like as you say, just trying to tell a story, trying to connect with the lyrics.
Yeah, but I love those days of getting records or even CDs where you open the booklet and it's like a whole, like, I feel like as much as I love having access to so much music with like Spotify and iTunes and whatnot, there's like something lost in that excitement of like opening the CD, opening the album, you know?
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. It's the records are so much nicer. Records are like it's like just the greatest conduit for artwork. You know, that's how I think that's how a lot of people got into illustration.
100%, I would imagine.
Yeah, because especially I would say that sweet spot of like late 70s, early 80s art and it was all like big fantasy kind of prog rock stuff and all that.
Yeah.
It was always amazing. Like Yes covers were always amazing.
Yeah, and even in the whole album, like the whole concert program, like that's died a death as well. Like every concert I ever went to when I was a teenager, you bought the program. I keep it, and they're all like in a nice folder under my bed. I'm going to frame them all when I get my studio painted, and like, just I miss all that. It's a shame.
Yeah, well, we've gone real out on this on the record, and I think that you've got the picture disc version, so you've got the limited edition.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, but I think by Comic Con it's gonna. Oh, I hate to get all these dates wrong. I hope I'm not lying and telling fibs. But apparently, I think that the record is and the CDs and all formats are coming out by Comic Con. So we will be there as well. Metal Warrior will be there. So this is Talk, and he's kind of he's a spiritual guy, and so he's there just I guess chilling, just in a serene state. That's one of my favorite ones as well. Weirdly enough, I really like drawing like alien plantation and that kind of stuff. It's
I love it. It's very Lotus feeling.
Yeah. And here's the Battle 1v1, which was it was kind of that blowing up a chessboard, that kind of thing. I didn't want to go obvious with it because if you've already got a gatefold record where you have characters battling, these Malachite characters, then I thought maybe go a little bit more subtle with one of the inside covers, so like chess blowing up. And here we go. Here we're on to the NFTs at long last.
Yeah, look at these guys. I got 3.
Oh, I saw one of them. Didn't you get a talk with the giant spliff holding?
I did. Yeah,
that's a really good one. Yeah. This was This was the poster I did for the launch, and the base characters there, our 4 base characters. I've really enjoyed this project, doing these traits and doing these characters. I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed doing these and drawing all the traits for them. It's kind of like, it's almost like being a kid again. And somebody said that it was a bit like, when I remember my sister having one of those little kits where it's like a little paper doll, and you put out the little. And you had to put out the little
them over the top of the doll,
and then swap them out for the different hats and things like that.
I want to say it was something from like a really naff comic called Twinkle or something like that. I'm sure it was
Bunty or something like that.
Something like that my gran used to buy me.
What is the name of the collection?
Metal
Warrior.
I'm gonna hang on. Shall I share? I'm gonna share the collection on my screen. Hang on a second.
I've got a few more after this. I'm gonna share.
Go on, you go through, and then I'll share the whole collection.
Okay, so here's some of the collection here. So we got our characters are kind of sort of based in the comic books and the metal universe. So we have got like the goth the metal chick at the bottom, where she's Queen Vara's the metal chick, and then we have our different traits like glasses and things. But some of the interesting ones, I think, are like Quan, where he's dressed in some of the characters that he plays in the comic books. So if you were to buy the comic books, you'd know what the references were. So that's how the kind of universes combine and unite a little bit, where you can kind of look at that, and you look at there's Skydin in one of his outfits from the comic book when he's a teenage boy, when he's under the influence of Oknar Karmoon, and he's this prince in his palace, and so that's his outfit from there. And so we got all these. So I think it's really good for people to collect the comic books if they're into collecting. If you want the NFTs and the comic books, and you can see these little connections between them. I think that's a real fun thing.
Cool,
yeah, they're really wicked.
And on what chain is the collection on?
Solana.
Yeah, I'm glad you answered, because I don't know anything about any of this stuff.
I could tell. I was like, Solana. Yeah, it's on Solana. They are like, let me have a look. I'll bring up the if you've got one.
Well, I'm nearly done, so I'm just gonna just show throw up a few links, and then I'll let you take over. So just a few of my links. Metalwarrior.com. We got a Z2 Comics site as well, where you can collect, because we've got some cards as well. So we're doing these collector cards.
Yeah, I've seen them. They look really nice. I saw them on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, so you can. So if you want to collect them, if you go to Z2 Comics /collections Metal Warrior, you can get them there. And I'm Ben Fellows Art on Instagram, and then I'm a very complicated X at Ben Fellows 95428. Yeah, I won't say any more about my complicated X address, but there you go. And then
I've got random numbers after mine, I think, as well, because there was so many Vicky Licious.
And then at Metal Warrior OFL, that's our Metal Warrior site. So if everybody wants to go in there and see what's happening in our world with NFTs.
Yeah, wicked. Also, I'm going to bring up the Mint page just.
Okay, I'll let you drive now.
And I shall. There we go. Let me share.
I just gave you a follow, Ben, on X.
Yeah. So this is the collection. So
Cool.
they are so colourful. Let me just make that screen a little bit smaller, actually, so you can see it. Here we go. Yeah. So they're amazing.
Yeah, that is cool.
They are really cool.
Yeah, I think they're different as well from a lot of the NFTs.
Yeah, even just the profile being side profile is really different. Like most NFTs are like the front profile of things, aren't they? I feel like.
Yeah, it was a lot of like there were different versions of this that we tried out, and this was the one that suited, I think, the characters the most.
Yeah.
That's an absolute beauty. Is that one? I love that. I love drawing that hat. That samurai.
It really, my eye was drawn to that straight away. Woof! It's listed for $843. Wow. Yeah, and here he is. I love this guy.
There you go. Yeah, with the records.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a wicked collection.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah.
Now, there's with that one, because it's got the ace and nails. That's KK Kerry Kelly, who does the music. That's his bar. He's got a few in.
Oh, cool! So I've got one with one of those little badges.
I don't know if I should say this, but apparently, if you have one of those, you can get a free drink in Ace and Nails. But
where is it though? If it's in New York, it's a long way to go.
No, their locations are in Vegas. So
they go even further.
I don't want KK to rugby tackle me to the floor and bash my head in.
Be like, why are you giving out free drinks to 300 people online?
Yeah, exactly. So I won't take that as absolute honest truth, but
yeah, these are great. Yeah, I love them. The whole FCW went wild and minted, I think.
Yeah, I need to mint a few.
Yeah. Oh, I like the crown too. I was looking at this earlier. That's wicked.
Yeah, that's Oknar's crown that he's stolen, I think, and put on his head. So yeah, that's he looks good in that crown.
It does look good.
Yeah.
Let me find the one I minted that I love. This one. That's one
Ah,
of
there you
mine.
go. He's drinking a beer and smoking a giant spliff as well. Like,
What? Yeah, I've got that one.
that's called a Bystone milk beer as well. So in the Metal Warrior verse, they drink. We have these creatures called Bystones that are these enormous sort of pig like
Slime
creatures.
type things.
Yeah, and if you milk them, you can ferment their milk and brew
Oh
beer.
wow, okay. So they're like giant beasts.
Yeah, giant pig milk beer.
Nice. Yeah, this she's 1052 is mine, 1051 and 1053. So I got 2 girls, 2 Queen Va. Is it Va? Vey? Queen
Va, yeah, Queen Va.
Yeah, I love that one. That's my fave. Yeah, these are amazing. Let me share. Let me share the launch my NFT. So you've launched through launch my NFT. So this is where you need to go if you want to mint.
A Magic Eden, right?
So the collection is showing on Magic Eden, but you mint via launch by NFT. So they're at 0.3 Sol, I think, at the minute. So this is the mint page.
Just out of interest, should I know all this information? Even seeing as I'm one of the main
I
people.
guess you should. I guess so. So
you know what? It's I will learn about all this stuff.
You will. I was like
right
you.
now,
I was clueless. I was absolutely clueless. I came in. My partner and my co-founder Fraser. He was into NFTs, into crypto. He was like, "I think your art would do really well. Let's do something together." We worked in a studio together, and we sort of paired up. But he literally talked me through everything, like how to set up a wallet, like how to be safe with a lead. Like I had zero clue. And on the first spaces I would do, he'd be on Messenger and people would ask me a question and he'd be texting me the answer. So like I was like, I don't know, they've asked me about the contract, what do I say? So yeah, it's but you've Launch My NFT is like quite a popular NFT sort of launch pad. So yeah, it's I have minted a few collections from this site, so yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, so that's where to mint if you want to go, guys. But all the links are in the I don't know why it's not letting me share the whole window for some reason, so I can't just go between. Here we go, that's better. Yeah, so if you go on to Metal Warrior, there's like a lovely little link tree there. There's a link to their Discord, so you can join that. So you're launching you said you were designing a token, like a coin.
Yep.
So is that right? Yeah, so that I saw that earlier. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So is that going to be for the community to earn points to like mint NFTs or like get rewards, or do you know much? Has it been sort of decided exactly what's happening with that?
I would love to tell you what it is. I'm just doing the art for it. But yes, I think that is correct. I don't know.
It looks wicked. It's a really nice design.
Well, that's actually not the final design. I've been working on.
Right. Okay. Well, that looks cool.
We are gonna. You won't believe how I've done a lot of work on this coin. This coin is all the bells and whistles. It's gonna look absolutely rad.
Amazing. And that's Ben's. If you want to give him a follow, that's his Twitter. Ling.
She's so good at that, isn't she? She's so amazing. Great at that.
It was so nice to meet her in New York. It was the best. Her and Alex. Yeah. Awesome. Oh my God. It's been such a good show. We've shared so much.
Yeah. We never got to. I was going to do a process video, but I think I've talked enough. I'm actually. I'm getting hearing my own voice, so I'm sure the views are as well.
There's so much cool. I mean, like, there's so much cool stuff here. I
I
love.
drew myself into the universe. Yeah,
I love it. I was looking at. As you can see, I've retweeted.
is that
it
bad?
already.
Do you think drawing yourself in is that? Does that say something about you drawing yourself into?
No, I
the
think
universe?
I think it's really cool to sort of like, it's like doing a cameo, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like who used to do that? Somebody used. Who used to do that? Didn't not Stephen King. Anyway, somebody used to do that. In
Alfred
movie.
Hitchcock used to turn.
Yeah,
up-
Alfred Hitchcock. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yes.
I knew you were thinking that. Yeah, he used to do that quite frequently. Yeah, but yeah. Oh, and here's some of the trading cards. Yeah, this is what I saw on Instagram.
Yeah, if you go to the Z2/Metal Warrior site, you can. Yeah, they're available with the comic books. So if you wanted to buy a comic book and get a collector card, so so I've designed them with a trading card game in mind. I don't know what of that, but yeah, maybe something.
Yeah, I've done the same with my Lunar Witch ones. I've kind of given them coven scores and power ratings. So you might just want to collect the card, but you might want to collect them, you know.
Maybe we could fight off. Maybe the Lunar Witches could fight the Metal Warrior characters.
I keep asking Miguel if the Lunar Witches can come into the Rebel and battles. Maybe they can power up some people. But yeah. Wow, it's been absolutely amazing chatting.
It's been great. It's been really nice to chat. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been really nice to sort of share you and like learn a little bit about you as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, we've done a good hour and 33 minutes. It's amazing. I'm still awake.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's still early for me. I haven't even had my tea yet. So.
Oh no, well we'll let you go and we'll thanks ever so much for joining us. Everyone give Ben a follow. Super talented. Yeah. It's been a pleasure to meet you. I'm so glad we went to that party and we
I'm glad you went to that party too. I'm glad everybody went to that party. It was a really good party.
It was wicked. It was my favorite thing we went to, I think. Yeah. It was really good. Well, I'm gonna say good night now. Did you want to add anything to the end of the show, Miguel?
No, everything is good on our end. I mean, it was great to have him on the show. I love to learn about new artists, creators, stuff that they do. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Right. Well, I'm going to switch back to just us two and then...
Okay, I'll say my goodbyes then.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, good afternoon probably for you. It's good night for me. Yes. So next week... I've got another guest coming on next week. I've got Alex from 404 Mon coming on. I don't know whether you know him, Miguel, but yeah, that'll be an exciting one. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It's been awesome. I'm actually going to finish. I don't know whether we had anyone enter the giveaway. I don't think we did. I might be able to give away one anyway. Oh, I won because I was the only one hashtagged. Look at that. Ridiculous. Never mind. So I'm going to finish with one of my little bedtime stories, unless you anything you want to
add? No, all good.
Were you minting? I can tell when you've got your minting face on.
I was trying to mint.
I could tell. I've lost him. He's minting.
Trying.
So funny.
I got to do it, yeah.
Oh, but yeah. Okay, well, I'll say good night, everyone. I'm going to finish this little bedtime story. It's literally only 2 minutes, but good night, everyone, and catch you next week.
Have a good night, everybody.
Lunar Witch and Mochi Pink Moon. During the spring, when the world danced with blossoms and birdsong, and love bloomed like wildflowers, Lunar Witch, though wise and kind, sometimes felt a hollow ache in her heart. One night, as the pink moon rose high and glowing above the treetops, a curious shimmer stirred in the shadows. From that light stepped a Maneki Neko cat, his fur white as clouds, and his eyes like pools of emerald. He lifted his right paw and beckoned her silently, drawing her to a moonlit clearing wrapped in cherry blossoms. In his left paw, he carried a rose quartz crystal pendant, glowing soft and warm like a heartbeat. With great care, he placed it in her palm. "This will open your heart like a flower in the sun," he whispered in a voice as soft as night wind. "It will fill you with joy and the sweetness of self-love." The lunar witch felt warmth bloom in her chest. Her loneliness began to melt like the morning frost. "I am Mochi," said the cat, curling his tail around her wrist, "and I will walk beside you from this day forward. So long as I am near, no darkness shall harm you, and you shall never walk alone." They lived together beneath the watchful moon, hearts full and spirits light, spinning their own kind of magic in the world. They spoke of future days rich with laughter and love's gentle bloom, of fortunes bright and friends yet to come.